Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. Sadly, not joining us tonight is your co-host, Jim. He is under the weather. He's come down with some sort of ailment. Got it through the family. So we hope he'll be back with us next week. Get better, Jim. Joining us, as always, is your co-host, Hunter.
Live from the Universal Studios in Florida, it's the Space Game Junkie Podcast. just kidding. We're not in Universal.
How awesome would that be, though? Like, my God! Like,
we are doing it live.
Yeah, we are.
You know, I often like chuckle at those like old like 90s like TV shows where it's like live from. It's like you had the guy from like Full House or whatever it was.
Oh, anyway. Right. I think I know what you're talking about. Also joining us is your co-host, Spaz.
And live in front of a different studio audience.
And friends, we are starting off 2020. By the way, Happy New Year and new decade. First podcast of the 20s. I am in my pinstripe suit, 3-piece.
You know,
with
no and still no flying cars. Thanks, Jetsons.
Thank God. No, thank God we don't have flying cars. People can barely handle 2 dimensions. Come on.
That's true.
Don't give them a third.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Unless they were as easy to fly as the Jetsons. But folks, joining us tonight for our first podcast of the 20s, Brian Jameson, the creative director at Jump Drive Studios, to talk about XO, which is a spaceship survival game.
It's a hug and a kiss.
It's a resource management, crew management, survival, running away game with spaceships. Like, how would you describe it? How would you describe it, Brian?
It's a strategic fleet defense game.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's all about building a fleet, and maybe the best way to describe it would be I was drinking beer one night and really wanted to be Admiral Adama from Battlestar Galactica.
Action stations.
Right. Set condition 1. So that's where it came from.
And I have to say, you have really captured that desperate feeling of it must have been to be in that fleet of Battlestar Galactica, like because water is a resource in your game. I keep thinking of that episode, that BSG episode about water. After which they never talk about water again, but for that one episode, it was everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that episode.
Plant, right? Because the recycling, they recycled their water.
They did, right. And then it got blown up by one of the Cylons. And
it got blown into space. They had like a reservoir or
something. For those who haven't watched the show since 2004.
So yeah, spoilers for a 15, 16-year-old show.
We indeed.
If you haven't watched
if
BSG,
you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't actually watched it, well, that's probably on you.
Yeah, well, watch the first 2 seasons and then the first 4 episodes, and then just stop. Like as soon as they leave New Caprica, just stop. Just don't watch anything else after that. If you're ever going to watch BSG, because the rest of it is garbage. What was that?
Actually, the pilot and that episode 33.
33 is really one of the finest episodes of science fiction television ever made.
Yeah, that's really what made me make XO. I couldn't get that episode out of my head. It was just so on the edge, and everybody was just so tense and just beautiful, like
and
perfect sci-fi.
And your game does that because, folks, if you haven't played it, you basically start off as a temporary commander of this weaponless battleship. So it's not really a battleship. It's just a big ship with no guns. Would you call a ship with no guns a battleship? I guess it's a class, maybe. But it's a battleship with no guns. And all of a sudden, you realize, hey, none of the mail is arriving. Hey, where is everybody? Excuse me. And then suddenly these, what are they called? Harvesters? These
Yeah.
These purple ships start showing up. They're called harvesters. You don't know why they're called harvesters. They're just, they're called harvesters, but we're like, we don't know why. Start like taking ships in front of you. Like they don't shoot lasers. They shoot like little boarding pods. And so like you got to like run the hell away, but you have like but you have to try and rescue people at the same time, but you only have so many resources, so you can only rescue so many people. And it is like 33, like you'll jump into a system, then you'll be like, okay, we have probably like 5 minutes before they get here, and there's 2 ships, and one of them is like a regular freighter, but the other one generates food. Ooh, let's try and recruit those guys. Oh god, the purple guys jumped in. We gotta leave. And it's like
there are times you can split your fleet and do both, but
I hate doing that. I hate doing that.
It takes finesse. You have to send one of your fast ships to get to the freighter first, because you get to the freighter first and you recruit it, and that improves your relations to that faction. And at the same time, you've got another ship already on the way to the food ship. You get the food ship after that because your relations are better, and you can stag both of them before you have to bug out.
Yeah, because they won't even talk to you if they don't like you. If you have bad relations with them, they won't even give you the time of day.
And I like how the game has events even between jumps that can change your relations. Like I like made one of the factions I had passengers with really upset because these terrorists decided to take hostages, and I just outright killed them because I'm like, we didn't have time for this.
Oh, you didn't get the good result. There is a really good result with that particular event. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. I won't spoil it, but there is a great event for the result for that event.
But yeah, it's interesting how there is combat, but that like feels, at least in the games I've played so far, which have never lasted that long, it feels like a last resort. Like you have weapons just to defend yourself before you get the hell out of there, basically.
Yeah, I'm definitely part of the focus of the game has been to try out non-combat mechanics. And the more that I played with, like, what can I do here that doesn't involve shooting, the more excited I got about what possibilities there were. So I've tried to make it so that you can play, I call it playing as Razor, to use the Battlestar Galactica reference. Another spoiler. But the captain of the Razor was super brutal and just took what they needed and left people behind and just was really ruthless and very warlike. So I've tried to make it so that you can play that style, but you can also play like, hey, I'm going to be Adama. I'm going to try and rescue everybody. I'm going to do the best that I possibly can. And then all the wheels come off and it gets tough. But yeah, so trying to like balance as many different types of play styles as I can has been a really interesting challenge in it.
Yeah. I take more of the middle ground approach. You pick 2 factions that you work well with, and you prioritize getting them on your side, as many of their ships as you can. And for the others, if you have to make them an enemy, so be it. But for me, that ends up being the Irenic and the Empire ships.
Yeah, I think we're in early access now, and we've only been in early access for a few days longer than a month. So we've got a lot more work to do. And I think one of the things that I'm going to be doing is sort of making it more like that, Spaz, like where you're doing those kinds of actions and sort of being forced to choose who's going to be your friends, at least in the moment. And there's a lot of fluidity in the relations too. You can be friends with the Irenic, and then bad things happen, and it turns out you have to be friends with the Empire for a while, and then you can seesaw back and forth. So it's meant to be more fluid, kind of, Game of Thronesy style, where you never exactly know who's going to be your friend depending on what's happening. So I'm going to be playing a lot more with those kinds of events, and a lot more of the kind of political, like between jump events that you were talking about. I've only really just scratched the surface on those. I'm so excited about doing a lot more of that kind of gray area. Oh man, what's the best of a bunch of bad choices type events.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the events, even if you make a gain in one area, you may lose in reputation as a result of your gain.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to model real life, but it's based on a lot of, historical stuff that I've done, things that have happened to me personally, and sort of the reality that oftentimes there are just gray areas, and you got to do the best you can and like hope. All right, I'm going this direction. I feel like that's the way to go, and hopefully that pans out. So
there are certain. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just noticed there are certain events in which, say, for example, you come across a station and you know the event, you've dealt with it before. You know that that's going to require you to defend a station for a couple of days, and you just don't have the people to do it.
Yeah.
So you go in, you see the situation, and while your orders are talk to everyone, it seems like the best option in that case is to just not even broach the communication subject. You just get out of there before you even talk to them, because that's the only way you can survive, because you can't defend them and your fleet. So the only option is to do nothing. It's
yeah. It's definitely about that. Like that's definitely part of the design of the game. It's certainly part of my mentality is you cannot rescue everyone. If you try to rescue everyone, it's over. And instead of just like, oh, here's this, here's that, and you just get bigger and bigger and bigger, you can't do that. You have to be very careful about, dare I say, strategic about where you put your resources.
I'd say pragmatic.
Yeah, pragmatic and sometimes brutally so. That's tough. It can lead to some difficult things, and it tips things one way or another in terms of how your strategy is going to roll as well. So yeah, that's been a big thing going from the very beginning, making sure that those kind of difficult decisions had to be made. Is like, so for example, like with FTL, which I love, it's like a perfect game in my mind. There's like almost nothing I can say that's even remotely bad about it. But it's a phenomenal game. But the events in that game, they very often just tend to be interesting in that they precipitate a violent encounter. And to the extent that there's things like you have a special crew or something, those blue options show up, they're always the right decision. And I like how that works in FTL. I think that's really cool, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something where each decision has sort of real consequences strategically. And sometimes a decision is like, oh, I can actually use this to sort of swap relationships, or I can use this to get rid of some crew, or I can use this to bolster relations with these guys, or buy me some time to repair or whatever. So that's what I've been trying to do. I don't hit it with all the events, but I'm really, really trying to do that.
Now, I noticed that some of those events, they always have the same outcome with the choices you pick, which compared to FTL, where if it's not a blue option, there's a percentage chance that it can work one way or the other.
Yes.
And I prefer the way it is in this, is where you know what the result will be through experience. And that makes it a kind of meta in that sense, that you sort of know what you're getting into. If you've seen the event before, you've done it a couple of times, you know what the I'm going to say quote unquote correct answer would be, the optimal answer would be. You do that, you know what you're going to get. That still doesn't protect you for the next 5 or 10 events down the line, which can totally screw you over.
I mean, I appreciate that, because you don't always want to be a slave to the random number god, I mean, you want some, at least some consistency, so sometimes, so you'll know sometimes what you're getting into, and that'll just keep you going forward.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, difficult design decision. So there's two things that I want to do that we haven't yet implemented in the game. And one of them is branching events, which is something I'm super excited about, where a certain option can trigger a number of possible options. So you don't necessarily know exactly what you're going to get, but you'd know that it would be sort of positive, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Rather than like absolute failure. And that's the way that I like to employ this sort of randomness, because I think a legitimate concern or legitimate worry about events that are fixed is, like you said, you know, if you learn them all, it gets meta, and you're like, okay, I know the choice here. But if that choice can precipitate several possibilities, I think that's pretty exciting and interesting, and it throws kind of a spanner into the works, but it doesn't take away from, like, I feel like I've made the right decision here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So in that moment, you've made the right decision, but you don't know what necessarily all of the consequences of that decision could be. Say,
and
as a result of them in future sectors.
Sorry, you cut out on me there.
Oh, what I was saying was that there might be event chains that lead into future sectors, so the knock-on effects wouldn't necessarily be immediate.
Yeah, exactly, and I mean that's a perfect lead into what I'm very excited about doing next, which are these quests. So right now, events they either happen at your current destination or they're at most like one jump away. And sometimes they can take several days to occur, but you're limited in scope. So what I'm excited about doing is having these quests that actually require you to jump quite a distance, and potentially even collect up things along the way and accomplish things along the way in order for you to achieve the sort of ultimate goal. And you know, my current thinking right now, and I should say this is all in flux because we're in early access, and you know, it's not a promise, but it's what I'm currently thinking about. But my current thinking is, right now there's these faction leaders in the game, right? And each of the 4 factions that are not your own have this special power that you can get if you get a faction leader. And the powers are like the ability to jury rig a disabled ship, or the ability to intimidate a warship and make them jump away instead of fight you, and stuff like that. So right now the faction leaders occur randomly, which is cool. But what I'd really like to do is tie the acquisition of a faction leader to completing a quest, which, you know, would make the most sense to be in service to that faction. So that's where I'm leaning towards in that respect, and tying those to multi-jump longer term quests with you know, branching events or items that you need to collect along the way. I think I'm super excited about that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I could see that being something like keep certain ships alive.
Yeah,
and then get them through a couple of different destinations, and then, you know, maybe you're asked to you know, find this stash. It's a couple jumps away. Get to that stash, open that, and then bring whatever you find there, that MacGuffin, to another location, and then, hey, maybe you get a leader out of that.
Right. It rescue our priceless cultural artifacts, or save, you know, X number of our people, or, you know, stuff like that, where it ties it more into really bonding and weighing in with a faction. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm super excited about it, and there's just a couple of things that we need to get in place in order to make it happen. I mean, apart from writing the content, which takes a bit, but yeah, I'm super psyched about that as a next kind of step to like bring it all together. That and the sort of political, I call them fleet events, the ones that happen sort of right when you emerge from jump.
the interfaction events.
Yeah, there need to be many more of those. I've got like 70 something ideas that I need to implement.
Wow.
So,
I know the community has plenty too.
The what?
I know the community has plenty too of
Oh my god, the players that we have are so awesome. I've just been getting like a great stream of ideas. It's been fantastic. I have to say, like, doing the Kickstarter has been really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. And I got a lot out of that. But this early access has been like another level of fantastic.
That's good to hear.
I believed in it as a thing, but it was still like, I believe in this, fingers crossed, having never done early access before, you don't know. And it's a huge risk, right?
Right. Yeah. And some games have really good early access periods, and some, they don't handle early access well. So there is a stigma.
It's hard to do. I mean, games are really hard to do. You guys know they're super hard to do.
I'm surprised anyone goes into it. I mean, it's like all this work, and your game might not sell well, or you might get a toxic community out of it. It's just, gaming is such a weird thing that we all love with all our hearts. So, I don't understand it sometimes.
It's sort of like cage match fighting. There's like this combination of a lot of things, and you have to be able to withstand pretty harsh criticism and
plus uncertainty. Because I mean, getting visibility on a game these days is tough.
Don't I know it?
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's really hard. There's so many releases.
I not only that, but I have to say, with a game that has a name like yours, that can't make it much easier. I mean, you're...
Oh, what are you talking about? Yeah, about that.
Maybe you had a subtitle or something. I don't know.
I know. We joke about that all the time, like XO : the obligatory subtitle, like some like goofy thing like that. But
run through the void.
It's gone a lot better than I've thought, actually, and we are actually starting to gain traction on YouTube with XO, and if you put in, just yesterday we turned the corner on Steam, so now if you just put XO into the Steam store, it actually comes up, which it didn't for the entirety of our first month.
I heard people talking about that, like it didn't come up in the search. What?
Oh, that freaked me out. And I have to say, like, I have to say, Valve has been amazing. Like when we first got greenlit, actually, I think even before we got greenlit, back when greenlighting that's how old this game is. That's how long it's been in development. Right. So before that even happened, they changed their search algorithm just for us to allow a 2-letter search. I mean, and they've been like super responsive and just super fantastic. And I understood why XO wasn't coming up in the basic search box. I mean, it's all about, trying to keep people from manipulating stuff and, doing black hat kind of things. But I'm really psyched that now we are up on that. And now even Google searches are starting to return us. So we're getting there, it's a process, and we're still in early access. So
that's how I found your Steam pages, via Google. So
sweet.
So yeah, it works. But Google's insanely fast. They're like insane. Like they just get faster and faster at picking stuff up. So like back when they started, like, you might rank in a month or 3, maybe. But now it's like within a day of putting a page up, they'll have it, if even sooner, depending on the site.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think even YouTube is even better. Like I've just seen over the past couple of weeks how they're really linking to us now, it's just phenomenal, and it's great. And it benefits everybody. It's the same thing with Valve. They want games, so it's not we're all rowing in the same direction here. So
yeah, it's like people don't talk about how people think Google's the biggest search engine in the world. It's like really the YouTube might be even bigger in terms of usage and whatnot.
Wow.
it's
YouTube though.
Yeah, oh yes, that's true, but they are separate entities. So like if you do a search for something on Google and a search for something on YouTube, you'll get very different results for the same exact search. So they're very different search engines. But people don't think of YouTube as a search engine, but holy crap, are they a search engine?
Yeah, it's amazing. So they've been really great. And I mean, in a way, like having a 2-letter name sort of helps. That's the way I'm telling myself. And it's, it's too late. It's too late now. So I'm good with it. I'm really good with it. I think yeah, good.
It works with the almost Vectrek-like graphics of the game, just that X and that O. It just for some reason that works really well. And I love the graphics. By the way, I play it and I feel like I'm playing a Vectrex game. Which
thanks. That's totally. Yeah, I was so into those games, and I spent an enormous amount of time playing Battlezone and Black Widow and Omega Race and all those like awesome vector-based games. And
right,
I really, you don't see games with a like vector look, and I really love the look. And I'm like, wow, we've got so much resolution now. We can make those lines really sharp.
Right. I think the only other like modern game that has really tried to copy on that is Tempest 4000, like a recent Tempest clone, which is apparently pretty good.
What was that game that came out? It was like early days of Steam, but it was like these this was like a strategy game. We had all these little guys that you could control.
The Tron inspired one, right?
It's the introversion game, right? Oh my god,
that was kind of like some vector graphics stuff there, wasn't it?
And
at least that's one thing. Anyway,
you're thinking of Darwinia, I think.
Yes. Yeah, you got.
That's right. Oh, I remember that game. Yeah.
Introversion software. Yes, 2005. Darwinia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one. Like obviously I did a big search. I wanted to do something unique because I think it's so important when you're doing a game to have a unique visual, because there's so many options out there. If you don't catch somebody's eye, like immediately, they're gone. And I really do love the way that space games look, but I think for me, if you put like 3 space games up and just give me like 2 seconds to look at them, I couldn't tell the difference between them, and I didn't want to have that happen.
That is I have to admit that's a downside to covering space games. Like, I asked for feedback on my YouTube channel, and someone was like, "All your thumbnails are black." I'm like, hello? I mean, I use screenshots from games, and they're all base anyway.
Yeah. So like
depends on the genre,
right? I mean, it's you're gonna do space. It's gonna be black. It's it's kind of, you can't have white. So there are sort of like limitations. But when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this has got to be vector, and it saved us a lot as well. Sort of like from a selfish game designer, person who has to pay for it standpoint, we don't have any textures in the game. There's no textures, 0.
Wow.
Right, they're just colored materials. I mean, I guess you can call them textures, but it's the same texture with a color on it. So that was big. It made it easier to make, and it meant that we could focus our energy on doing things like making the planets cool, and we spent a lot of time on that, and having more polys on the models. So there's an enormous amount of detail on the ships that we wouldn't get if you had if you had a bunch of textures and that kind of thing. I don't think, because you just push your engine over, you'd knock everybody's CPU screaming to the floor.
I have to say, besides the graphics, one of my favorite things about the game, besides the gameplay, is the UI. Like the UI just fascinates me. I love the ship bar, the persistent ship bar on the left. I love that.
Thanks.
But I find it fascinating how, like, when you select a target, you can choose to go the short way or the long way. I've not gotten to a point where I've chosen the long way. So what are the differences between those two choices, and why would you pick one or the other?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. The easiest example for that is if you've got a ship that's already, let's say you've got a frigate, they're real fast, and you've dispatched it to go save a farm ship that's way out on the edges. And there's another ship on the other side, on the other hemisphere, if you will. And it's close to you, relatively speaking, but the harvesters jump in the middle. So the short way would require you to go drifting, shall we say, through the harvesters, which is going to nuke your frigate. So you need to go the long way if you're going to catch that other ship.
Oh.
And there's other tactical reasons why you would want to do it. It doesn't come up super frequently, but when it comes up, you really, really need to do it.
Right.
It's a little bit mitigated by the waypoint. That gives a little bit more precision, but yeah, and the UI is something we've worked literally for years on. It's been so hard. When we first started, it was just a nightmare. It was this terrible, just god-awful thing. And we'd show up to a convention and people would be like, what is this? Just completely not understand it. It was so painful. And we'd come back and we'd do a bunch of work on it and go, yeah, this is the thing. Go out to another convention. People just hated it. It just didn't work. Just why are you doing this? So it's been a lot of work, like so much work to get the UI working. And, we still have work to do. There's still things that aren't explained. Like I'm the king in this game of like unexplained functionality, right? There's still things that you can do in the game that sort of doesn't tell you about that we're working on.
Like being able to scroll the list of ships. You have the two arrows at the top and bottom.
Yeah, it's scrolling. Yeah.
And now one thing I wanted to mention about that is sometimes you're going to the bottom arrow to try to scroll it down and it keeps on moving the camera. So,
yeah.
So my suggestion on that would maybe to be raise the button up a bit, even though it might compress the ship list a little bit. Just for the sake of usability, it might make it a little easier to see the button if it's below the list.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We need to do a little bit more on that. And it's funny because I was just writing a story on our development board to address some of those issues. So one of the things that I'd like to explore, it may not end up being this way, but if you're hovering in that fleet list on the left, and you're using the scroll wheel to select ships.
To scroll the list instead of going through it.
Right, it'd scroll the list. And then if you're outside of the fleet list and using the scroll wheel, that rolls through ships in your fleet, and then it would just scroll it also. So you'd always sort of see the ship that was selected in your fleet list. But there's more work that needs to be done there, no question. That is not the best part of the game yet, but we'll get there. We'll for sure get there.
Yeah, definitely. It does need a little work, but I love what's there.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, for sure. And that's early access, right? I mean, that's like getting this sort of feedback is so priceless, right? And in particular, watching streamers has been fantastic. I like catch things and be like, oh yeah, we're not going to let that happen again. So
Starbuck,
right?
Just found Starbuck.
What happened?
There's a ship name you can find.
Yeah. There's a few nods in there to different.
Really? I didn't even notice. Like, how big a fleet can you get? Like, my biggest fleet I think has been 8 so far, 8 or 9.
Much bigger. I'm not sure what the largest anyone has had. I've had them in the 40s.
Oh my god!
Listen, Listen, Brian, it's not about the size of the fleet. It's
Oh. So how
40,
do you?
40 something for sure is
My God,
that's
I
that's
can't
definitely
imagine.
doable.
I can't imagine that because, like, I mean, there's just so many. I felt like 8 was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with all these guys? I'm not gonna touch them. I'm just gonna like if there's a ship I want to talk to, I'm just gonna send this one guy, and like
Yeah.
everyone else, just keep going.
That works, except when the one guy you want to talk to is like a fleet of 5 ships and they get mad. So
True.
you'll get there. Don't sweat it. You'll get your fleet size up, and
I think I had something like 30 or 35 ships in my last run when I got to the rendezvous.
yeah, that's a good sized fleet. You can do a lot with a fleet that size.
And I got to say, I love the resource modeling. I like how your flagship can automatically gather resources, but you can only gather so many for your fleet. At least with that one ship, you have to find other ships, like supply ships, to increase your capacity so you can save more ships.
Yeah,
Like that.
that's been a really thank you, and that's been a really interesting thing where I love real time strategy games. I mean, I absolutely played them so much. Going back to Dune, played
Yes.
so many of the greats, and the model I think is fantastic. So I wanted to capture some of that sort of real time strategy kind of feeling in the game without it being grindy and resource intensive, no tech trees, none of that stuff. I really wanted to like strip it all bare and just get to like the core of it. So we made all the resources basically sort of auto collect. I mean, for ore, you need to set ships. You need to decide to tell ships to do it. Once you tell them to do it, they'll just keep, collecting it. But water and fuel, which are super critical, like you can't do anything without those. They're just automatic. And that was a process. Like when we first started the game, there was a band around each planet where you had to fly your ships into, and then they would gather.
Oh
and then we
God.
tried. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Oh God. Thank you for
we
removing
tried to-
that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and I had to be whacked over the head. I think it was like it was at an event we were at, and somebody who I really respect said, how are you going to stop grind? How are you going to make this not grindy? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to address that because grindy is not fun, right?
It depends. Like I don't mind a bit of grind if the grind is like if I feel like I've made progress with the grind. Like there are games where you play and you're like, I'm just spinning my wheels here. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing all this stuff and barely getting anywhere. But other games like they have good mission payouts or the mining pays well. Then it's like I don't mind the grind if it's fun, if it's enjoyable.
Right. And it's like, it's getting that. I totally agree with you.
It's hard. It's gotta be so hard to make that right. I don't know how people do it.
It is really, really hard. I think for us, making it only one thing that you really kind of have to grind on, which is ore, and you have to make a decision. And there's basically 3 things any ore ship, most of the ore mining ships can do, which is mine ore or melt ice or defend you. And those are meaningful choices, and it depends on a lot of other factors as well. But you kind of really have to decide, okay, what is this fleet ship going to do? What's the most important thing for me? And figure all the other, the time constraints, the harvesters coming down on you, and how many resources, where's the next trade event, and all that. How many missiles do I want to fire? All of those things. But we really scaled it back. Like originally, there were 5 different resources in the beginning, and that, I don't know what I was thinking. That was just wrong.
What were the other 2? Because like the 3 you have seem pretty straightforward. What was it? Fuel, water, and ore.
Yeah. Do you want to guess, or do you want me to tell you?
No, okay. Oh, okay. Well, okay. I'm gonna guess. I'm guessing one was some kind of space, like unobtainium type special material you can only get at certain planets. And then, oh damn. Okay. Do you guys have a guess, Hunter?
Unused resources for 500.
I would guess food was a resource.
Ding, 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 ding. Food was one of them.
Okay, food. Oxygen?
Yeah. Wow, for the win. Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Good job, us.
Yeah. Air and food. And that all compressed into water.
Yeah, which I appreciate, because you're getting to the point where you just hear that song from you just hear the title song from Mystery Science Theater 3000. You should think to yourself, it's just a show. Yeah. It's like, okay, slow down.
Yeah, it was going to be insane. There were going to be, food ships and water ships and airships.
Oh god,
and like that was just
airships could have been cool. You could have had space blimps. Like in,
I know,
like
right?
in
Space Zeppelins,
Iron Sky or whatever that was with the space, the space Nazis. The space blimps.
Maybe if we ever do a sequel, we'll do the space Zeppelins, but no, not
with one of them named the Iron Zeppelin.
Absolutely, got to do it, but not this time around. I think it's better. I think it's better.
Is that what?
I see. I don't know. Would you get in trouble if you used that?
Probably. Wait, no. It's the name of the Iron
game
Maiden.
Ion Maiden got in trouble, so they had to rename themselves.
That's true.
Yeah, I would say so.
But Iron Maiden is also a torture device. It's the name of a thing, not just a band. So I don't know. But Iron Maiden.
I'd not like to find out.
Right, but Iron Maiden, they got into a bit of trouble. Why? I don't understand, but I still don't get that one.
Like I've got a couple of nods. Like you came across the ship Starbuck. I feel like that's a legit nod, and I've got some Traveler references and old role playing references and kind of goofy stuff in there.
I've never played Traveler, but I played the computer version. It was called Space. It's from 1979. And
really?
It was.
Is it any good?
I never got that far because I died in character creation, which apparently is a Traveler thing. And I never got that far, but apparently for people who know Traveler, it is a pretty honest representation. You can get it today. You can get an Apple emulator. It's only available on old Apples and a ROM and run it. And apparently it's pretty true to Traveler.
I'm so doing that. And, Traveler was a massive inspiration. So,
okay.
A massive inspiration. I played so much Traveler back in the day. I have all of those little supplements from, the little weird half size, all the black books, all the supplements, all that stuff. I played that game ridiculously. And, the idea of jumping came from Traveler, right? And the idea of the game being the Traveler role-playing system, if you haven't played it, the whole idea is worlds are totally disconnected, and the only way they get information is these ships jump between them, and they kind of act as mail ships. So, if you're on the run or something like that, as long as you stay ahead of the news of those ships, no one would even know.
So you can arrive at a planet a few days before a mail ship and do what you got to do and then get the hell out before the mail ship arrives and tells everyone what an asshole you are. Oh, okay.
Right, exactly. So it's like that old 1800s gunslinger, bank robber, whatever sort of thing, Bonnie and Clyde stuff, where you get over the state line or that kind of thing. So I always thought that was a cool thing to do in a game, and I'm sure it's been done in other space games. I've never played a game that was like that, and the idea that there are these just sort of bubbles that you jump to, and you get to a place and they haven't seen the harvesters and they don't kind of know what's going on. You've got to be the person to sort of tell it to them.
As someone who has played a lot of space games, that really has not been done in very many. Actually, I'm trying to think of any game like that.
I've run into a few events in this game in which that's very well reflected, that you tell them and they don't believe you, and then they leave.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. The narrative also is it's a little subtle, and maybe I should be clear about it. But the idea is all those they're like like cars driving on the road or whatever. They don't have radar. They don't have advanced systems. All they get are like transponders. So the harvesters don't have transponders, so they literally don't see them. So they're, particularly in the early part of the game, the narrative is supposed to reflect them being like, what? Are you sure this isn't like a trick? Are you not, like, isn't this just another faction, doing some kind of thing? And you're like, no. So
that's conspiracy theory.
Right. Never happens, right? Nobody ever believes that kind of stuff. So and being able to play off of those kind of memes that are going on, also is kind of fun around that. That the sort of conspiracies and stuff has been really fun. But yeah, I should actually do, now that I'm talking about it, I should do more events where you're needing to persuade more.
That would add a fun level of frustration. Like, I'm telling you the truth. I don't believe you. There's no one underneath that pizza parlor. I'm leaving.
Now, I would say that is one of those things where it would lend itself more to dialogue trees rather than just being a single response and then their response, because you can make the best argument that way through multiple instances of dialogue within that conversation rather than just a quick one and done kind of thing.
Yeah, so we can already do that with our existing technology. I don't actually know how many levels I can go. I've gone 3 or maybe 4 levels, and you can go up a level or just be forced to go down a level, or stay on the same level. So there's a little bit of flexibility there. I use a script that sort of pre-generates most of the code for the events, and there's only 3 levels I think reflected in that, but that doesn't mean you can't do more. I'm not sure that there's even a limit, actually, so it'd be fun to play with that. It's a little bit, it's a factor of time, and I have to sort of make this internal calculation, like, okay, how much time should I spend on this particular event? Oh, I can make this so cool if it responds to this thing and that thing, and so
yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if
yes,
that has led to so much scope creep in so many games?
So dangerous, yeah. So what I try and do is when I come up with something like that, I try and apply it to as many events as possible. So at least there's that kind of thing. Like if you maroon a crew on a station, or you maroon a crew on a disabled ship, or you put a crew on a ship that's not their faction, there's this reaction, right? They're clearly unhappy about it, and they let you know that they're unhappy about it, and you have to decide, do I deal with that or not? But those kind of things is what I've been focusing on. And then I've got a big list of things that I need to go back through the events and make them more tricky is the wrong word, but more interesting, more something, funny, crazy,
more diverse,
tricky, diverse. Yeah. Something like that.
So can you, first off, how many factions are there in the game besides yourself?
4.
Okay. Can you be friends with all of them?
Yes.
Good.
It's very hard.
Well,
it's very hard.
See, in any game I play, as John Mulaney says, I want everyone to like me so much. I just need everyone to like me.
Yeah. You pay the price for that, though. If you're going to do that, you pay the price for it, but it's definitely possible to do. I don't know if it's possible to go all the way through the game with everybody liking you all the time. I'm not sure that I've tried.
I've had green relations with all of them, to me, through about day 70 or so.
Yeah,
but by that point, going all the way to the end is a different matter because, well, certain events are going to force you to have to make choices, or you're going to be skipping events and losing out on ships potentially. Of course, the other thing is just because they like you doesn't mean they like each other. You maybe want to touch on the interfaction relations on that.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. So it's not just the factions relating to you. All the factions relate to one another as well. And the things that you do can affect their relations. So there's nothing in the game where like the factions will just decide to like or hate each other. It's all based on things that you do. So if you mix crews on a ship, for example, it can cause certain events to happen. Where if you do the right thing, the factions learn to like each other. And what I haven't done yet, I don't know if I should do this spoiler or not. I do intend things to happen if they like you. I'm sorry, if they like each other more than they like you. So
I did have something happen like that where I had this like a water ship who joined me, and then they were like, "These guys are giving me a better offer. What are you gonna do?" And I tried to outbid them, and they're like, "Nope, sorry, we still like them better." And then they still left.
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So
I was really upset. I was really upset.
Yeah. So I definitely intend to do more and sort of amp that up as well. So it's a little Machiavellian in that, you have to be careful if you're going to let people like each other that they have to like you as well. Right.
But
that's how bad things happen.
I need everyone to like me.
No.
I just want everyone to be happy and everyone to like each other. Even the harvesters. Like, why can't we like the
Have you come across the event where the you're trying to make them like them?
I have.
The harvesters? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, there's some interesting ones like that.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah,
I know that event well.
Oh God.
I've had so much fun putting these events together. I just like it's so great, and my developer has been so awesome making the structure of the events. That it's just so neat. Like I can like do almost anything now. It's so cool. I'm having a ball with it. There's so many more events.
Oh, I'm excited because I really love the writing. I was going to say the writing of the events is like, even when the game is being extraordinarily cruel, it's still fun.
Which it does from time to time.
It's still funny. It's still funny.
Thank you.
Like, it's like I was playing today, to make the video that I was playing in the background. So I laughed out loud more than once because this game and doing humor in a game is not the easiest thing, especially a space game. So many space games are so serious.
Yeah. I couldn't do that. I just can't do that. I'm too silly myself. There's
a good mix of humor.
Yeah.
I started making it serious. It was very serious for I got like 5 or 8 events in, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah, because if it's too serious, it's like it weighs you down.
Yeah, it was kind of bumming me out. Like I can't do this. It's like so important. Like you feel for the people, right? Because it is about saving humanity, right? So if you don't care about humanity, who cares? But it was getting so dark. I'm like, oh no, I can't. I gotta channel Douglas Adams or something. I can't.
I really appreciate you doing that, because one of the reasons I cannot play FTL is because I like connect to I don't know how to describe it. I have too much empathy for the people on screen.
Oh, so, like, I know what you mean.
If one person dies,
losing crew.
If one person dies, it's like, no, I'm done. I feel awful for the rest. I'm like, no, I'm not playing this again. I can't do it.
I feel bad even when I've got a clone bay. You know, like it just makes me feel bad. So yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. And getting that feeling right and doing it. It's been an interesting thing because like early on I did get some feedback like, oh, it's too silly, it's too lighthearted, and I'm like, I'm staying the course. I believe in this. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, you can never go wrong with looking at Douglas Adams as inspiration, I think. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've listened to that.
If you want some more great inspiration, I don't know if you've seen Red Dwarf, but with the cat and the hologram guy. Yeah. You could probably get some great event ideas just from that show.
Yeah, actually, I should go back and do that, and that's totally something I do. You know, like it's research. I'm doing my air quotes research. I watched like everything, and like always scribbling down ideas. I've got like a ridiculous amount of ideas. It's almost like a problem, like deciding what new event I'm going to do. And as often as not, I kind of ignore my list of things and just do something new. They're this kind of ever-growing thing.
So how many events are in the game now?
It's over 500. I haven't done it's a lot. I'll do a little I've got a little script that'll tell me while we're talking. But there's a lot. And originally I was like, so like Spaz, you were part of the Kickstarter, right? So like originally I was like, probably need like 100 events, and then like, we're probably gonna need 300 events. No, now we're gonna need 500 events, and it's just, I'm not putting a number on it. It's just, I'm just gonna keep writing them as long as people are buying the game. I just love doing it. So
I mean, yeah, that's so much flavor to what could be so dark. Because I mean, the premise for the game is pretty dark. You're on the run from these aliens who are just kidnapping people, and it's creepy and horrible. You just run. It's the premise is so dark, and yet there's so much humor there that like lets you breathe a bit. That it's just so important.
Yeah, like I feel like I went through I was running a software development company during the Great Recession when that came down, and that felt a little bit like XO. That was such a hard time. It was just, there was a lot of like XO, right? Like I had to let go a bunch of people, and that was just stab in the heart. Not as bad as it was for them, but it was still bad for me. The way worse for them. And just, okay, I've got a much smaller crew and we've got to make it, like that's rough. And I know a lot of people had it rougher, but it was not a fun time. And, a lot of the things that I learned going through that, like humor and like trying to bring fun to it, even though things are hard, and, certain leadership things, really hard lessons I tried to like put into the game. Tangentially, I don't want to say I participated in, but I saw the big crash, the .com boom. I came from that, but I was out by the time that it really kind of all came clattering down. And that was a bloodbath too. So, a lot of personal stuff came out through this too. And I think just to do it just as like a documentary would not be cool. And I think, as cool and as great as Battlestar Galactica is, I think it would have been better if it would have been funnier. If there was more, it was so dark in the beginning.
Yeah, I think BSG was kind of the start. The new BSG was the start of the grim, dark sci-fi aesthetic
Yeah.
Many shows since have gone through. You could say maybe it started with DS9, at least.
Sure. Yeah.
The way the latter half of DS9 went, but yeah, BSG for sure.
And that was only really because of the nature of the storytelling element of DS9. You know, where Trek traditionally was really episodic, DS9 kind of followed an overarching story.
Yeah, the series.
Whilst also having like moments of independent episodes, like, you know, your one-off cave stories. But yeah, I think some of that grim darkness also slipped in a little bit with Farscape, and probably a little bit with some Firefly, even though
I loved Farscape. I thought Farscape was such an underrated show. I really loved what they did with it, not just visually.
The thing sorry to get off on the tangent though, but the thing about Farscape that I think is what made it underrated, unfortunately, was the fact that like it was such an out there sci-fi, right? Like, and it wasn't you know, it was with a lot of puppets. So you had the Jim Henson Company was heavily involved in. And so, but it lasted for 4 seasons, which is, strange considering how many other sci-fi shows like didn't even get that came and went, like you got Earth 2. You remember the awfulness that was Earth 2?
I loved Earth 2. It was so stupid.
Earth 2 had some charm to it, but it was really dumb.
It had Tim Curry and Clancy Brown.
That's true. That's true.
It was such a
speaking of grimdark
space wizard.
It was such a dumb show.
It was Space Above and Beyond.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, Space Above and Beyond.
That was definitely grimdark.
Yeah, which came out like middle of the run of DS9, if I'm not mistaken. So that was like a early.
I think so.
It was about mid 90s.
Yeah, mid 90s. Yeah, mid 90s.
So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel like TV is such a harder medium to work with when you're kind of doing humor as well. It's one of the things that I love about just kind of doing the events, is because I can have a bunch of dark events and then I can have just silly ones, and they're just kind of mix and match. And it's not the same as like, here we've got 40 minutes and somehow you've got to do something funny and adhere to the grim reality. Oh, so I've got 558, by the way, my script.
Wow.
Just completed.
And you're still adding more.
Still definitely added. We just added like 8 in update, and I'm definitely still working on more of them. So yeah, it's coming along. I mean, they're fun to do. Some of them are really simple, and some of them are crazy, like expansive. So yeah, it's good times. I'm hoping that at some point I'll be able to kind of open it up to modding or contributions or something like that. We've tried to sort of design it with that in mind.
Chatham's over in the Twitch chat is wondering what happens if you go too close to the gravity well of a planet. I haven't tried that. Is that a thing?
So it's kind of a thing. So you are prevented. Your ships won't fly too close to the gravity well. They won't fly so close to the gravity well that you lose them, because I thought that would be unnecessarily cruel. But whenever a ship becomes disabled, it begins tumbling into the gravity well, and at a certain point, it'll be beyond the reach of what your ships can safely do. So you kind of have to watch them sort of tumble slowly to their doom, and you lose them.
I'm disabled.
Yes.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. So it's like that, and there's kind of the two losses. One, you can get the ship back if you have the right equipment. You can grab a disabled ship and actually make use of it, which is something that I've wanted to do in a game for so long. Like, so few games allow you to capture and reuse an enemy ship. I feel like that's such a tragedy.
It really is. So
and the history of naval conflict and any military conflict is all about taking the other guy's stuff,
taking prizes. So, it's such a big
absolutely
deal. Such a huge
it's all about
deal.
Taking prizes.
Yeah.
So like a big part of this game is about taking prizes, and you've got a bunch of tools at your disposal to go in and grab ships and be like, oh, that's a good ship, I'll have that.
You should do like a trophy room like in X-Wing Alliance, where it's just like you got a chunk of a ship from this battle and it like hangs over your bed.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I totally do remember that, man. I played so much of that X-Wing. I lost a lot of my life to that game. The whole series.
The trophy room idea sounds like something for achievements. Like, achievements. You go to the achievements page and it's your trophy room.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So we've got a bunch of achievement ideas, and the achievement engine is in. In other words, I can create something and it'll publish to Steam. But we had the test ones we had were lame, like get one ship, and I don't want to do achievements like that. I really don't like that kind of achievement. Stay in the game for 2 minutes. Those kind of achievements
for 33 minutes.
Yeah. So I want to do them like they're legit achievements, like something hard, more like FTL style achievements, right? Where you actually have to do something pretty hard to pull off. So definitely
I was actually going to say there's a mission in the original StarCraft where you actually had to, like, the mission objective was to survive for a literal 30 minutes.
I think I remember that.
I was like, wow.
Yeah. Was it StarCraft or StarCraft 2? I forget.
It was the first StarCraft.
Okay. Yeah, that was another great game. Jeez. So, yeah. So did I answer the question? I think I answered the question.
I think you did.
Yeah. That's important.
So
yeah, working on achievements. We're going to get stuff. Sorry.
Hunter, go ahead.
Did I say something?
I thought you said something.
Yeah, that was probably me just talking about achievements.
This is the problem with not like seeing each other on camera, is we interrupt each other all the time. And the problem is we tried to do on camera once or twice and it was just really weird. So we haven't found a solution. Like, besides just being polite about it. That's really the only solution we have found.
Yeah, video's hard. Yeah.
Okay, so it's literally the third mission of the game is survive for 30.
Oh wow. God. Through the magic of the internet.
I think that's why I remember it. I actually played StarCraft back in the day. Though I preferred Total Annihilation, personally.
I played so much Total Annihilation, man.
Oh yeah.
6-hour games where you got these crazy big fleets and just,
I don't know if you've played 0K. It's a free game. It's a free game. It's probably the closest I've seen to besides Supreme Commander, obviously. It's probably one of the best Total Annihilation clones around. I was gonna say it's more of like a clone to Total Annihilation than Supreme Commander is kind of like a spiritual success. So that's true.
If you play 0K,
fair.
You're gonna be like, holy crap, this is Total Annihilation.
But with a better UI and better AI, like game is
the AI is not.
It will kill you.
Really? I don't even remember playing Total Annihilation.
Oh no, we're talking about 0K.
No. I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't even remember if that was even a thing. But yeah, I'll have to try it. It sounds really cool. I love RTS games. I mean, obviously,
and it's free, so there's no reason not to try it out.
Really?
It's completely free. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, thank you in advance for costing me $100.
You're welcome. Yeah, I too am an RTS fan. I've been going through my collection trying to find games to stream, and one of the first ones I'm probably going to do is Battle for Middle Earth. Lord of the Rings, because those games are great.
Yeah. I haven't had the time to sit down with that, and I keep meaning to, and it's just every time I do, I get pulled back into my own game. So it's
fair. I mean, you want to sell your game. So it sounds like early access is going quite well for you, which is good.
Yeah, Yeah, it's been a really super experience. Like, I, it's over and above my expectations. Everybody's been so great, and the engagement has been really high, and I get these really great feedback things from people, and it's been really good and super risky, but
this was after a successful Kickstarter, so you already had the community from that.
Yeah, and they were also super great and oh my God, so patient. We said, I don't know what I was thinking, but we said we would deliver this thing like in 2016. So a little late, little bit late there.
As long as you're transparent about why it's taking longer, most people are fine with it. Yeah.
Actually, really, everybody was. I mean, there were a couple of comments where it's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And at one point, someone was like, "Hey, this is sort of a scam," and but my response is just like, "Look what I'm doing." I mean, if it's a scam, it's really, really elaborate. So I mean, everybody. But apart from that, like the community, the Kickstarter community is so supportive and so fantastic, and incredibly patient and supportive of what I did, and we had a lot of challenges. It turns out the FTL guys, they gave a talk. I don't know if you ever saw that. Their postmortem of FTL.
But no, I have seen that one.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's really good to watch. And they said that they started from multi-ships and they decided it was too hard. And they went to one ship, and I'm like, oh yeah, challenge accepted. Turns out it is actually really hard. A lot harder than I anticipated to sort of pull it all together. And, I can be like a squirrel sometimes and, like, oh, what's that shiny thing? And so we went down a few, rabbit holes that we probably shouldn't have in service to making it really, really cool. And I feel like it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago, honestly, that I really stopped thinking, wow, I really have to do something to make this work because it sucks right now. It started to really gel around 6 months ago. So, and we've been working on it for 5 years and 3 months now.
Damn. Yeah, when was the Kickstarter? It was a while back, wasn't it? It's like a few years ago.
A long time ago. Yeah, it was 2015.
Oh, dear Lord. Half a decade ago. I did not realize it was that long ago.
It's a long time ago. Yeah. Yeah, I realize it.
Oh, boy. Well, I mean,
I know.
It's fine if you're showing progress. Like, what's that one game? Star Sector. I don't know if you've played that one. It's amazing, by the way. But yeah, he's been kicking his early access. He's not even on Steam. He's been kicking his things. He's been kicking his tires since 2011.
Yeah, I know of Star Sector, and I'm excited to play it. I haven't played it yet, but
it's so good.
I feel like if there was a way, this is just fantasy talk, but if there was a way that people could understand how much effort it takes to try something different, and all of the effort that needs to go into that. I mean, it's already hard to do something that's like derivative, right? That's very hard to do already because of all the things that you have to pull together. But like to do anything different, it's all this trial and error, and you can't. It's impossible to estimate. Like, how many times is it going to take us to get the user? I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
after
FTL came out, like it almost spawned its own like subgenre of clones. And some of them did well and a lot of them didn't. But yeah, especially in this crowded environment, you really have to be different. And that with anything,
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to call it a crowded niche, but that's exactly what it is.
It wasn't for a long time, but now
what it is. Yeah.
Even now, just space games are a crowded niche.
It's true. It's very true. And what's awesome is technology like Unity and ubiquitous 3D software like Blender, and that's free, and there's so many things out there that are either low cost. It's just a measure of like time, right?
Not to mention the actual like game makers that you can buy to.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, like to pull that stuff together and to make it different is an enormous thing. And I love Kickstarter for allowing that to happen. I just wish there was a way to say, you know what, when you're backing this game, it might take 5 years. It might take longer if you really want to, if you really want to experience something that's different and not sort of, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, I play a lot of games that are games, like the number of tower defense games that I played that are kind of very similar is quite large. So, but to do things different, it takes so much longer. I wish there was a way to sort of get that across. And a lot of the times the way that it comes across is failure, because they run out of money, they run out of enthusiasm, they run out of support, whatever it is that they run out of. There's many things, unfortunately. I just wish there was a way, to encourage more of this sort of like long-term, let's make something interesting and different. We're getting there.
Yeah, no, I can't, like, it's hard to convey how much work goes into making one game or anything, not just a game, anything, like creating something, anything takes a lot of work. And like, I mean, we have toxic gamers out there, but we also have a lot of great gamers who understand that, and which is great.
Yeah, it's just sad that the toxic ones seem to be so loud sometimes.
That's with anything, though. That's with anything, though. But
I truly think that there's more good than there is bad, but the bad's just so loud sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. There are so many. I mean, you see a lot of crap gamers on like the Steam forums and whatnot, but like when you think about it, they're definitely in the minority. Like more people than not are fans of gaming and understand how much work goes into these things.
It takes energy to not be salty, to not be toxic. So
it's
for those of us who choose to not be that way, it takes more effort. It really does.
It's true. It does. And I have a lot of different feelings about this. I mean, on the one hand, I feel strongly that when you put art out into the world, you need to put your big boy pants on and be able to take like absolute Tiamat level of flame, right?
Right.
You just have to be able to withstand it. And if you can't, maybe that's not the right place for you to be, because it's going to happen, right? And so the counterpoint to that is anytime anybody says anything about my game, I'm thankful, because I wouldn't know if they didn't take the time out of their lives to say something. And even if it sucks, that's not great, but it's at least something. It's like, well, we're not there yet. You can learn something from that. But like crickets, that's the worst thing, right? That's what is going on. I mean, that's a different kind of message, but so I wish that there wasn't the level of toxicity that we sometimes see. I sometimes feel like some of it's justified. There's some shady stuff that goes on sometimes, but it's at least something, right? It's at least like some sort of comment. I'm not asking for that, by the way.
Good, because this game sucks.
I think the key point is from the consumer perspective is try to be constructive. Even if you hate it, try to be constructive about it, because if the dev doesn't get constructive feedback, they can't build a better game that you might like.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, this game's crap. Okay, like, why? Can you use the rest of your words to explain maybe why you don't like it or why you think it's crap? Or
yeah, teasing that out is really tricky sometimes. But being persistent, you can sometimes really get some amazing things. Although the best thing I get is watching people play, either a stream or literally watching them play. But you can still get an amazing amount just from a negative comment. Excuse me, not combat. Probably try not to do that when people are playing my game. I'm just trying not to get physical. But it's really a tricky thing because it's a person and they have a job and they're making money and they're taking some amount of that money and giving it to me, and they have an expectation. They have a reasonable expectation of it working, it being entertaining. This is totally reasonable. Like that's what we're doing. So you have to kind of be ready for those different levels of things. And that's another reason why I'm so thankful for early access, right? Is because it allows much more of that kind of dialogue and most people understanding that it's not a finished product.
Yeah. How long do you envision? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for the record, I don't think this game's crap. I actually do like this. I like what you got going. Just for
thank you.
Sake.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think we're all fans here. But I did want to ask how long you envision early access to keep going for.
That's it's another one of those impossible to answer questions. Mm-hmm. I was looking at Fortnite the other day, and they're still in early access.
Wait, what?
Fortnite still says early access. No joke.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I don't want to go to that level where those words mean nothing. Right. But I've committed to do several more months, and as long as people are buying the game, then and giving me feedback, then we're going to continue to make it. At some point, it'll probably make sense to say, all right, this is complete as a like a 1.0 release, if you will, and then we move on to maybe who knows what. Maybe we add more content, which I'm not going to do paid DLC stuff. I hate that. That just drives me crazy. If we add content, it's just going to be a thing that you get because you bought the game.
Right.
We may do a sequel or a prequel or a completely different game. I don't know, but we're in it for a long haul.
Well, do the sequel where you're the harvesters, and you're basically just trying to clean up a messy galaxy. Basically, you're
Brian,
just trying.
I actually mentioned that on the EXO Discord.
Yeah.
Literally, just today, I said, if there's going to be a 4X version of this game, it's going to be you as the harvesters against the other 5 factions.
That's right. Bringing order to a chaotic galaxy. That's all you're trying to do.
It's such an awesome idea. It's such an awesome idea. So there's two kind of general ideas that I have. One is a prequel that's kind of a more of a traveler style thing where you start with a very simple ship and then you can kind of work your way up, and kind of exploring just the universe, the pre-harvester universe.
It would be fun to be like a freighter captain in this in a peaceful version of this universe. Just going and making money. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh,
precisely.
Yeah.
I that really gets me excited. I love that idea.
That's a
ship
great
upgrades
freaking idea.
Yeah, I'm really kind of excited about that. Yeah. Also, yeah. And then the other one is sort of the obvious one where it's XO2 where you come and you take back everything and you find a way somehow to take space back from the harvesters.
Nice.
So yeah, so we'll see how I'm first, but, and make it better first. But that would be cool. I'd love to do that. And the mods too. I'm excited about opening up for modding.
Oh God. Yeah, there's going to be a Star Trek mod with the Borg, like moments after that comes out.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I like somebody was mentioning a Blake 7 mod.
Oh God. Oh man.
Right. Like there's a lot because I mean with the existing engine, like we can turn the harvesters off just like as a mod option. Like not even
really? And just explore and just
off. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can, yeah. So like that level of like, I don't know if it's like a total conversion, but like you can do that and make it a harvester free game. So you could almost do kind of like that prequel type thing or like a Blake 7 sort of deal. So
can I share real quick my sad story about Blake 7?
Oh yeah.
I started watching it and I really liked it. I really liked the ship, the Liberator. So I'm like, I want to learn more about the ship. So I look it up on Wikipedia, which spoils the ending of the show.
No.
Yeah. It totally spoiled everything that happened in the lab. Like the ship was destroyed when this guy. I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, I can't watch this now. I'm really upset. I can't. I was really, really upset.
That's really rough. It's like Wikipedia should have a little spoiler thing too. Like
why would you do that? Like. Clearly, people are coming here to learn about a thing, not to be spoiled for a thing. I don't know.
But some people like really want the spoilers before they go in.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but like make that a lot of things have spoiler tags. Yeah, like I want to read.
It's like tell me how bad Rise of Skywalker is before I go see it.
That's the thing I don't care about.
Do you really want to go there? Do we want to go there?
I haven't seen it. I'm waiting until it comes to Disney Plus. I'm not in a rush.
Look, for the record, I enjoyed the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a very fun Fast and Furious style movie.
Really? Wait, what?
No. Like, listen. Let me explain.
Okay.
So the first few Fast and Furious movies are okay, right? Like, they're pretty.
Well, except 2. 2 is the worst. Well, 2 is a pile of garbage. Let's just all be clear. Let's just
minus two.
Yes, 1 and 3 are fine. Yeah, 1 and 3 are fine.
Drift are okay.
Yeah.
Just Fast and Furious things start to get a little interesting, and then after that, they progressively get just more and more outrageous. Like Vin Diesel jumping across the bridge off of a tank or onto a tank. Like
I mean, did you see
a 40-mile long runway?
Well, Hobbs and Shaw has a mutant in it, for crying out loud.
just it escalates. Just every movie has to one up the previous movie.
That's true.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Oh.
So this movie is a crazy ride of just awesome things that are happening and interesting whatevers, but it's very loose on the plot, just like a Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw is great. I love Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, I loved it.
But my God, is it ridiculous?
It's insanely ridiculous. But know what you're getting into when you go see Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Like, know what you're getting into.
That's the Rise of Skywalker. It is just like,
okay,
this is entertaining from a visual perspective. I have no idea what's going on, but man, am I having fun.
Well, I look forward to seeing it once it hits Disney Plus, probably later this year. We will get a lot of wine.
There's a rumor speculating that they're going to pull an end game and do another release in the theater.
Of course they are.
With some more footage, apparently.
And with like 5 minutes of more footage. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, there's talking about doing like the rumored JJ cut, where apparently it's gonna like 20 more minutes of it. It's gonna be like a 3-hour long film. So that's gonna be on Disney Plus apparently. So who knows?
Okay. Well, they need to sell Disney Plus subscriptions, especially now that The Mandalorian is done. Like, I know a bunch of people who canceled.
Why? Can you give a reason why you're canceling Disney Plus? Mandalorian season 1 is over. Like,
this is the way.
This is the way. Yeah. I have spoken.
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Yeah, my wife calls it the Baby Yoda show, but she also digs it, even as a casual Star Wars fan. So well done them.
It's great. I wish that I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything. I'm just super disappointed in Rise of Skywalker, but equally super hyped about The Mandalorian. I feel like that actually delivered on my little boy Star Wars desires.
It's so good.
The show breathes. It takes the time to like breathe, and
even though the episodes aren't that long, they still get a lot in there. But they still
doesn't matter. They pace them like these old like cartoon, not cartoons, but I mean comic books.
Yeah,
and
westerns.
They've got this western like comic booky flair to them. They pace so well.
Listen, honestly, I know there's some people that don't like them, but I absolutely loved Bill Burr in that Bill Burr episode.
Oh, they were great. Who doesn't like them? They're supposed to be a-holes.
There's some controversy about his stand-up comedy where he makes fun of like nerds and stuff like that. But I'm just like, come on. But anyway, no, like Space Boston is brilliant. Like it is. hey, nice shoes. It matches his belt. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, we're gonna take that ship over there. Yeah.
Did you two make that? What is this?
So I don't know. I don't know when season 2 is going to come out or anything.
Later this year, I think. Like late this year.
Really?
They've already started filming it. If not, they're going to soon because, God, what's Cara Dune? What's that actress's name? What's her name? I can't remember her name, but she's confirmed that she's back.
Cara Dune playing Cara Dune, maybe. I don't know.
I can't remember the actress's name. Oh, damn. Anyway, she was great. I just can't remember her name. And I would love. Back. Could we just get a Star Wars movie with both Billy D. Williams and Carl Weathers? That's really all I want now. It's just the two of them in the same Star Wars movie. That's really all I want now.
He was. When I first saw him, I'm like, oh no. But he nailed it. He really did a good job.
He was so great. I love Carl Weathers, so I was.
He totally says Mando like he's calling out for Rock. Hey,
I know. It's like the Rocky. He's like channeling Rocky like so well. So it's so nice. Like I'm hit or miss with Carl Weathers. Like Rocky Carl Weathers, I'm in. But yeah.
Oh, I loved him in Arrested Development. I
never saw that. So yeah.
Just watch the first 3 seasons. Don't watch anything else.
He had a very minor role in The Colony, which didn't last very long either.
Oh, really? I never saw it.
Oh, yeah. I only saw the first episode.
Thank you, Jose. Yeah. The actress's name is Gina Carano. That's the actress's name that I couldn't remember. She was great. Everyone was great. I thought just about everyone was great in that show. Folks, if you haven't seen it, The Mandalorian is really fantastic. It is the Star Wars we've been wanting since we were kids.
It delivers. Wow.
Rather than what we actually got, it is the Star Wars we have continued to want since we were kids.
Yes. Side note, like I really hope that they finally go back in season 2 and explain some of the things that they've set up in season 1, because they set up a lot of like open-ended things about Mandalorians in season 1 that they did not even get close to talking about.
No,
I think that's my understanding of a couple TV stuff sort of distantly, and my understanding is in order to get approval for something like that, you have to have like 4 or 5 years of at least the basic thoughts kind of put together, and maybe that was a reaction to something like Lost. But right, the best named series ever, the most aptly named series ever. But so like I feel like I have to.
Lost.
I don't know. I have to believe that they plotted out all that stuff with the Mandalorian culture, because I think that's super interesting and
it is. But the thing that concerns me is we had a whole lot of new lore that was introduced in Clone Wars and Rebels that seemingly,
and there were Mandalorians in those shows that just helmet off all the time, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, and not just that though, but like there's some other things like in there, especially like stuff with Sabine, like in the clan, that I know that there's ways of explaining the helmet thing. Like I'm sure they can explain the helmet thing. I'm not too concerned about the helmet thing.
Right, that's just one example.
I'm sure they can explain that pretty easy, because I can think of ways that they could explain that easily. But the thing that I'm really confused on is it was clear that it was during the Clone Wars that he was orphaned, but I'd kind of like to know roughly when. And then the other thing I want to know about is when exactly did this purge happen? Because I say this because the purge at the end of Rebels was the beginning of essentially the timeline for A New Hope events.
Yeah.
So
right,
Mandalore hadn't been purged at the end of Rebels, and then you have the 4 years during 4, 5, and 6, and then 5 years after that. So in that 4-year time span is when that purge had to have happened. But I would kind of like to know.
Well, they're talking about a sequel to Rebels. Maybe we'll get it in there.
It's a pretty rich timeline, post Ewok land, right? Like there's
but like it could have been post Ewok land, because that's like the Empire's gone.
Yeah,
but there's still I isn't it because there's still elements of the Empire that sort of disintegrate? I mean, that's what I thought was like cool about the Mandalorian, is like, here's these scruffy stormtroopers. Like,
you're right. I'm just saying that, like, in terms of, it was the Empire that purged Mandalore. So, but anyway, we're getting way off topic. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
yeah. Let's wrap it up, folks. The game. Lance just bought a copy. Lance on Twitch. Lance2185.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Lance.
Great
folks,
guy,
the game.
Lance, by the way, great guy.
The game is XO, just XO. Those are the letters. It is currently on Steam in early access for $14.99. That's US dollars. And we don't know how long the early access period is going to last, but it is. If you've watched the video on YouTube, I did a preview video a while back as well. It is already very stable and very fun, and both funny and mean at the same time. So yeah, and there's a Discord. Apparently, you guys have a Discord. So
yes.
Head over to that if you have any questions. We will link to that in the show notes. And just a couple of programming notes before we wrap up. Tomorrow on the stream, what the hell are we doing tomorrow? I don't even remember. I think it's Fallen Haven. Yeah, we had a request for the 1997 strategy game Fallen Haven from Interactive Magic. So that's what we're going to be playing tomorrow. And then next week on the podcast, sadly, a lot of people missed this, but there was a guy who bought the rights to the classic Starship game Rules of Engagement and made a Windows port of it. Yeah. Yeah, he made a Windows.
I saw the video of that. It looks really interesting.
It's a fascinating. It's the Rules of Engagement games. If you've not played them, folks, are probably some of the most detailed Starship, serious Starship simulators you will ever get. Like basically, there's just a few games in this realm. There's Battlecruiser 3000, there's Starfleet 2, there's the Rules of Engagement games, and then there's Klingon Academy, and maybe close to broaching that is Independence War. That is it. And so this gentleman made a Windows port for, it's a DOS game because it came out in 1991, but he made a Windows port of it that you can buy on itch.io right now for $5. And so we're going to talk to that guy next week about his process. Yes, Thorsten, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The early 90s Rules of Engagement by, oh my God, the hell is that company's name? Omnitrend, I think. We're going to talk to him about his process of not only acquiring the rights, but porting it to Windows. And also the game itself, because it's a really great game if you haven't played it. If you really want to dive deep into the weeds, dig up a copy on eBay, like a physical copy, because it has still to this day some of the best physical manuals for any space game you will find. I'm not even kidding. And they're not very expensive.
So Impressions Games, I think, might have been the one.
They were the publisher of, I think, the second one, but the developer was Omnitrend, I believe. God damn it.
Omnitrend. Yeah. Omnitrend software.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, this gentleman ported it to Windows and is selling it on itch.io right now, actually. And so we're going to talk to him about the process next week. So, Brian, I want to thank you for coming on and talking candidly about not only the process of making your game, but the struggles of being an indie game developer. We love talking about that stuff.
Thanks for having me. It's been an honor. Appreciate it.
1 second. Thorsten, those were the Breach games, and Breach 2 worked with Rules of Engagement 1, and then Breach 3 worked with Rules of Engagement 2. And so for certain missions, if you boarded a ship, it would switch to this XCOM-y Breach game, and you could like do the boarding action manually, and it was crazy for the early 90s.
Wow. You know what that reminds me of? Sorry, I know we're trying to close out.
Go ahead.
You guys remember, Destroyer Command and Silent Hunter?
Yeah, it was just
Silent Hunter. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was like
Silent Hunter 2 and Destroyer Command, like you could play them together.
Yeah, I remember that very succinctly. Yes, I remember those.
So that's really cool. I didn't realize there were like that was the only like thing that I've ever heard of until just now that were like two different games that you could play together like that. That's really
it is
cool.
It is it's not done very often. So when it is done, it is really cool. I'm putting the link in the stream chat for the itch.io. Yeah, it's $5 and the game is amazing, you guys. Like truly an amazing Starship sim. Like there's hardly anything else like it. So we're going to have them on next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yes, Brian, thank you so much for coming on to talk about XO. As always, thank you to everyone who spent time with us tonight, who hung out, who talked in the chat. If you like what you hear, give us a like on iTunes. I don't ask for this very often, but we're starting a new decade, so I'm going to do a little bit of pimping to start the decade. Like us on iTunes. Tell your friends. We have a Patreon. We're trying to do this full time. We're getting there slowly but surely. You can go to spacegamejunkie.com/support. And there are links to our merch shop, our Patreon. We have affiliate links for stores like the Epic Game Store and Green Man Gaming. So if you can help us out in any way, it'd be great. Even if it's just giving us a like on YouTube or giving us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Anything you can do to help get more eyes on this would be amazing. And with that, we will say good night, and we will see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time with some Fallen Haven. Have a great night, everyone.